For more than 20 years, CTV has captured the moments that matter in our community. From our studios in St. Clair, you're watching Focus with Paul Dingeman.
Welcome to the Labor Day weekend and the beginning of September. Just amazing how it goes along, but hey, it does it every year. Coming up on the 8th of September is a new fantastic tradition in St. Clair, and it's a turtle race. And we happen to have the president of the St. Clair Rotary and the co-chair of the St. Clair Turtle Race, yes, Diane Ives, with us today. Let's begin and talk about what's going on.
Well, we're busy selling tickets.
Okay.
And with each ticket, it represents a turtle.
Let me see a ticket. Now hold it up to camera. Okay.
And so with each ticket, we post that the ticket number on the bottom of the turtle. We dump the turtles into the Pine River, and they race down the mighty Pine. And they go into a tube, and we get first, second, and third grand prizes are $1,500, $1,000, and $500.
While he's got the tight shot of the ticket, let's talk about how many you can buy and how that works. You can buy one ticket, right? Mm-hmm. And that costs you what?
$5.
And if you want to buy, what's the next one? I'm reading backwards.
Yeah, the next one would be $20. You get 5 tickets, so you basically get one free. And then your best deal is $50, gets you 15 tickets.
Okay. And yeah, you do have a lot of sponsors on there.
We do.
So I can go to another, and we'll get into the where we can pick up the tickets in a second, but I have multiple chances to be a winner in this turtle race.
Mm-hmm. We will have lots of winners because besides the 3 grand prizes, we have about 30 additional prizes of gift cards and baskets.
Okay. If the fellows in the control room will throw up that video, we're going to look at one of the previous years when they're dumping the, there they go. They're going to dump, up in the top part of the screen there is the dumpster, not a dumpster, but the truck. And in any second loader. Now, they're going to, here they come. There they go. So you dump all of the turtles in the water.
Yep.
And then they float. This is the Pine River between Ted's and
about halfway to
Pepper Joe.
Pepper Joe's. Okay. So then, depending upon the weather, they float down the river or they float up the river.
Well, we just hope they move in the direction we want them to go, because you know how crazy.
So on the bottom of each one of those little turtles is the number that corresponds with your ticket.
Correct.
Wow.
So a lot of people, I mean, you're not going to know which turtle is yours, but
mine's green.
Yes, many of them are. But people make up stories. You know, they'll see there was one that was a bully and he was dunking everybody under, and they give them names and they cheer them on. We'll have a DJ.
So then, as you said, they float down to a point
tube.
Here.
Yep, there they go
the tube.
into the.
It looks like an old banker's tube.
Yeah, it does.
And then 3 of them will go in there or more.
Well, we'd like to get more than 3,
okay,
just in case. Once in a while, there's a gap in ticket sales. So.
Okay. I see.
So
okay,
if there's one that wasn't sold, we're not going to dig through 4,000 to find 2
right,
or 3 that.
So we're looking at the river, but where is it? Where's the spot that this is happening, and what time is it going to happen?
Well, it's going to happen September 8th at 4 o'clock. It's a Sunday. It's actually the Sunday after Labor Day.
Okay.
And we're hoping to have that as our kind of final resting place that we'll always know for the future.
Yeah,
That's
good idea.
And the harbor might not be quite as busy as
Right, after
August,
Labor Day.
Yeah.
Right.
But
it's in Centennial Park, which is across the street from Burger King and LaCroix's.
Well, it's also
that park there,
affectionately called Rotary Park, right?
Rotary,
yes.
And it ties in this year specifically because Rotary, your club, is now 100 years old.
Correct. We are celebrating our centennial year here in St. Clair.
The Centennial Park was initially built for Rotary International worldwide celebrated their 100th year, and that was how that park began.
Oh, and that park was built a few
And now
years ago.
we're elaborating on that with the wildlife landing. We've continued to make that park even better, and it'll be our 100th year.
Bill, tell me about St. Clair Rotary. You are the new president for this year, 24-25, and give me a thumbnail sketch of what has been going on and what's coming up.
Well, Rotary is, as you know, Paul, it's a international service organization. And although our club does involve itself and contribute to international service projects, we do a lot of projects here in our own community. One of them was Centennial Park. Wildlife Landing was a project that we did.
St. Clair Little League, a big win for this?
And if you go back in
Right.
history, you know, you've got the St. Clair Inn, you've got the city's water plant, the pool, there's dozens of projects that Rotary has been involved with over its last 100 years. So it's just a group of professionals, regardless of what your trade may be. If you consider yourself a professional, we'd like you to consider joining Rotary.
Good.
And give back to the community.
And you meet where?
We meet every Monday at noon at the Voyager.
Okay. And everybody in the world's invited.
Everybody is invited.
You-
And if you like what you see and you want to become part of the club and part of an effort to really improve the quality of life of people in St. Clair as well as touch people around the world, then Rotary is a place to do it.
You have adoption centers.
Mm-hmm.
Open that story to me. Tell me where I can buy a ticket.
So we have many. There's Neiman's Grocery Store, Fowler's Creamery, Sweet Tooth. Those two are our newest ones because they're new to
Yep.
our community. The Voyager, War Water, Anchor Point Bistro and Cafe, Coghlan Jewelry, Hamlin Pub, Murphy's Inn, North Star Bank, and City Hall.
The tickets are small, but the work is mighty
Yes.
that comes
It's
from this.
not really about the turtles, it's what the turtles can do for us.
Right, right. And it takes about a half hour, an hour for
Oh, no.
when it
I
starts.
think 20 minutes to 30.
Starts at
20
4
to 30
o'clock,
minutes.
and
Yeah.
people will mass around and.
Maybe-
A lot of it will depend on which way the wind and the current
Yeah.
is flowing.
Yeah, if the river cooperates. But I think probably overall you might be there an hour from the time we start with the national anthem. We have
Yeah.
a DJ playing, music
Right.
during the race, and then of course announcing all the winners. It does take.
And the admission to the race itself is absolutely totally free.
Totally
But
free.
it's going to be even more fun for you if you have a ticket and a chance to win.
Absolutely, and you can buy a ticket right up until race time. We'd prefer you to buy them sooner because then we're not crazy.
Right.
But it is a very fun family event, and not just a fundraiser, but a fun raiser.
Right.
And a lot of families look forward to it year after
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything?
I would say in the early years, there might be a couple dozen people that would show up to watch, to observe, and now the park is full.
Yes.
So
And
it's
all the
become a
monies
very
that are
popular-
made from it go right back into the city, to the Rotary
Correct.
Club for
Right,
work
and
here.
then there will also be things that we'll be giving away on site. I can't tell you. You have to come and find out.
Okay, there you go, there you go.
Right.
And you brought one of your friends,
Yeah, this is a retired turtle. He's grown big and fat.
and we've had requests over the years, I remember, that, can I buy a turtle?
We don't sell race turtles, but they're about this big.
Yeah,
But we do have smaller turtles that I call
baby turtles.
turtles in training. Yes, and those turtles in training have become quite popular with the Jeep group, society. I don't know, community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of times they want to buy my little turtles, and they will be happy to make a nice donation
Right.
to get one.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so
Have we missed anything?
I just want to say that we've had sponsors. The
Oh, yes.
sponsors have made it possible for us to, they pretty much cover the cost so that the ticket sales can be what we use to do good in the world.
Good, good.
And so some of our major sponsors are Neiman's Grocery Store, Rose Pest Solutions, Coghlan Jewelry, and then this year we have fellow Rotarian, his Hale Walker and
Yep.
his wife Ann have made a nice contribution, and then we have many more that we have on our ticket and are very appreciative.
Good. So it's September the 8th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a Sunday, the Sunday after Labor Day. So come to one and come all. Come.
Hopefully the weather cooperates.
We
a
always
beautiful
guarantee
day.
that.
So far, we've been lucky.
Diane, see you soon. William, see you
Thank
soon.
you very much.
We're back with our next guest, Mr. Patrick Patterson, in just a second. Well, welcome to this next segment, and we've got two fine gentlemen with us this afternoon. Patrick Patterson, nice to see you, sir.
Nice to
And
see
he brought
you.
along a bodyguard. This is Chris Cook. Nice to meet you, Chris.
Nice to meet you,
We
Tim.
will get to you in a second, but Patrick, what's going on at that wonderful place called BWROC, which is helping so many people?
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. BWROC is the Blue Water Recovery and Outreach Center. We're a local nonprofit organization located at 10th and Lapeer, downtown Port Huron, that helps those seeking recovery from addiction. Our heart is in it. Our organization is made up of lived experience, which means those that work there have all struggled and went down the pathway of an addiction and then found their journey of perseverance and been successful in recovery, so they can provide hope and be an example to others going through similar like experiences. And this September 14th, we have Recovery Fest 2024 coming, which is a big event in our world and our community. We've been an organization that has existed off of the community coming behind it and coming alongside it. And that will be a day of resilience and hope, where other organizations are coming alongside the people. We have probably 1,000 to 2,000 people coming from several different counties.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it should be a really.
Where's it going to be held?
It's going to be held at Pine Grove Park.
Okay.
We got a lot of events that are going to be happening, so we're going to kick it off with speakers. We have the St. Clair County Stage, a band, DJ, a rock wall. We got the air jumpers coming, exotic animals, a barbecue, a cornhole tournament, face painting.
You're busy. God, that's going to be busy. How many hours are you going to be there?
All day. We got starts at 1. Our 5K is at 4:30. So Strides for Recovery 5K, which will be a couple hundred runners running along the river, and then that will lead us right into our featured event at 6 o'clock. Will be the softball game between the police, fire department, and the church. So we've got guest speakers coming from around the state coming. Should be a nice day of celebration.
I have to go back 10 years plus, when a fellow by the name of Patrick Patterson came in and said, you were helping people at SMR.
Yeah.
And go through a little bit of that. What was the program at that point, and what does it come to now?
I'll try to shorten it as quick as I can. We started with a chip in a chair, as they say, from a mustard seed. Without hardly knowing anybody in the community. We were working in the upstairs bedroom, and said those that have went through an addiction saw firsthand some of the gaps that existed in the current space. So how can we provide recovery services without duplicating other efforts that are
Because there were a lot in the community.
Yeah, there's other stuff
Some
going
worked,
on.
some didn't.
Some worked, some didn't, and we said, well, let's not do what's already happening. Let's try to live our space in the gaps. Well, once we started to get into that space, we realized when we say gap, it gives us a mental perception that it's small.
Right.
We identified gaps that were really big. They were very big, and sometimes the size of Texas with recovery support services. So we approached the workplace. Recovery never existed in the workplace. When we served,
Okay.
we said, I started my addiction, which was painkillers, when
Yeah.
I was reporting to the CEO of Michigan's largest 401k provider. And there really isn't a space for help there, because if I go to HR, I'm going to be in fear of losing my job.
Right.
So we said, well, what if we came up with this idea where we would have recovery coaches on site that were anonymous. So anytime we met with them at SMR, we were there 3 days a week, all 3 shifts, and we were available to those individuals. That really was part of our journey, our launch pad, because in order to help people,
Yeah.
you also have to have money to pay for the things that are needed to be supportive. So we started out 6 years ago on collecting pop cans for the first 90 days. Realized quickly that we had to step up our game. Pop cans wasn't going to get us there. We spent
It was a start.
months picking them and all weekend taking them back to, got a couple $100. We said,
Yeah.
we got to put on some fundraisers, and
Right.
we really want to help people. We've really got to raise some money. So we put on our first couple of fundraisers. We raised $15,000.
Wonderful.
And from that point, we paid about $9,000 in a year's rent and anything that we owed. We had $6,000 in the bank. I approached the board, said, hire me full time, and we will turn this into an actual organization being helpful in our community. So that was 6 years ago, almost to the day, to the month. I mean, it was October of 2018. And a month later, we got a call from United Way who said, we're going to give you your first $20,000.
Wow.
And since that point, we've raised over $1.5 million, helped thousands of people.
Isn't it
in the
amazing?
community.
It's amazing how a community can take hold of something once they believe in it. And obviously they believe in you and the
Us.
organization.
Well,
Us.
it's not me.
No, I
And
know.
The reality is that it is very not me, and we have an incredible staff, community. I mean, our volunteer pool is huge. Just last weekend, we had 15 volunteers go to Genesee County at the Ally Challenge. We had 15 people play in Grand Blanc in the softball tournament. On Sunday, the next day, we had half a dozen people go to Macomb for the Live Right Battle of the Bands Conference. We had almost 30 people volunteering just last weekend. That happened. That will happen again next weekend and the weekend
Okay.
after that. And that's just a rhythm for us, because the counterweight to an addiction is getting outside of myself and volunteering, because an addiction is isolation. It's
Right.
a disease of isolation.
Chris, what's your role with Mr. Patterson?
Well, I am a new board member as of last month, but
Okay.
I've been hanging around with BWROC for 4 years, I think. I'll be honest, I sat and watched one of Pat's Recovery Happens videos one night, and I'm in recovery from opioids too,
Mm-hmm.
retired school teacher.
Okay.
And I had hit a point where, man, it was just sort of empty and dry what I was trying to do, because it was all about me. And once I hooked up with Pat and I started to realize there was a lot of things I could do to get involved, like all of the volunteers he just talked about. And once I got in there and I could start helping people, it started to help me.
That's right.
And so I started throwing myself into volunteering for BWROC, and then just last month they asked me to be on the board. So I've been involved in a lot of things, our participatory process, I've been a lead in that, and just helping out wherever I could.
Over the years, you said you started in an upstairs bedroom, okay? Now you're on Lapeer. Or no, you're not on Lapeer, you're on 10th Street, at Lapeer. And tell me about that facility, when you got it, and what it does. What's that building do for you?
It's a recovery resource center, so it's most often the first call and first stop when somebody's seeking help. We have about 300 people that come through per week.
Per week?
Per week.
Sorry.
In support groups, we have 17 support groups that we run. Every day, all day long, we expand and contract. We've had 4,000 phone calls year to date. It's August. We're just a small little nonprofit. So the volume there, you can see we are stretched.
Well, you're in contact with people if they're doing that.
Yeah, very, very busy. Yep, we are front lines. We are soldiers. We are on the firing lines every day, dealing with all of the things that are the worst things when When you are at your absolute worst, that's when we're there. We don't get phone calls that are, very rarely, yes, people come back and say, we appreciate you and how much you've helped my life and helped my family. But all day long, we're having a 30-minute conversation, followed up by a 40-minute conversation, followed up by a 20-minute drive to the St. Clair Inn, helping those individuals. So we do about 400 transportations per month, which is, we have 2 vans now, 2.5 bodies, constantly driving people to different recovery supports. That was a gap, right? So transportation was identified as a gap. Having a brick and mortars hub was a gap. The place people go to that is known as recovery navigation. So if you utilize us correctly, we'll be your biggest facilitator. We're like the hourglass up here. We're the middle for that hourglass, constantly being a conduit to other support systems. It's a really big hub. That's why it's so busy. So many people come through there is because it's a hub. So it's constantly facilitating.
So do you work with the county health department and community mental health and other organizations like that?
Yeah, we have signed MOUs with both of those organizations, which is a memorandum of understanding or letter of agreement.
Right.
But we facilitate, we drive to CMH back and forth several times a day, people that don't have their driver's license, that have appointments at CMH. So we have 4 recovery coaches that work with anywhere from 50.
In your facility, are there sleeping facilities?
No.
No, it's not a overnight facility.
No, it's not a residential stay. A lot of times people have a hard time understanding what we do because we were the trailblazer.
Right.
So it wasn't there. A type of organization, they said, do you do treatment? No. Do you do residential housing? No.
Right.
Are you a recovery house? No. Do you do IOP? No. Well, what is it that you do?
Right.
So these were all the gaps that existed. A central location that facilitated all the support groups, that facilitated the barbershop, the Monday morning coffee, that 10 people come in and talk, right? That could be the most healthy thing I ever run into is that cup of coffee and just chatting about how the weekend was with those people in recovery. Every morning that exists. That's what we do. That's a hub. And that's...
you might look at it like a brokerage of services.
Okay,
where people
all right.
just don't understand where to get hooked up to this stuff. They can come to BWROC and we can help direct them into these different things that they wouldn't have had access to before. But we've got people, we have connections with other organizations that we can help direct people to the services that they really need. So
we just came out of we're still in an addiction epidemic, but the opioid crisis is sort of at there's still fentanyl and overdoses are still occurring, but during that decade stretch, and that was a war. And when we came out of World War II, they created these things called the VFW halls.
Right.
And they're places for people to go to share their war stories.
Right.
Why? Because they were super
Veterans
healthy.
of foreign wars.
They needed it. They needed this outlet. BWROC is the VFW hall.
I like it.
yeah.
And those type of organizations, place for people to go. They share their war stories. They seek help. They got support.
They're
groups.
not alone.
Right.
They're not the only person this has happened to. They now see somebody else having coffee with them on a Monday morning at your place that say, oh, wait a minute, he did the same thing I did or she did.
Yeah. The barbershop's going on right now. Anybody in recovery? There's several people. The front desk right now has got a half dozen people around them chatting. That's just
when we walked out the door, there were half a dozen people there just hanging out.
If Sully will throw up that webpage, let's look at what's happening on the 14th again. It's coming. There it is. It's called Strides for Recovery 5K. You get
that's
a 5K.
A part of it.
That's all part of it.
That's inside the festival.
So there's a $15 charge for the race or for the whole day?
For the race.
For the race, a race only. Okay.
Yeah. The race is at 4:30. The main event is at 6 o'clock, which is the community softball game against the police, fire department, and church.
But you're starting in the morning.
Starting 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. And review for me what's happening again.
So we start out at 1 o'clock with an introduction with myself and Deb Johnson from CMH, and then we'll get into panel speakers at the St. Clair County stage with a DJ and band. And right at that time, we'll have exotic animals that will be coming out, dunk tank.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exotic animals too?
Yeah, leopard. And we'll have a rock wall with our air jumpers, a couple bounce houses, a lot of fun family-friendly activities that will be going on throughout the day.
Yeah, face painting and kind of a carnival-like atmosphere, I think.
That's
Would be a
good.
way
It's
to put it.
positive attitude.
Games to play.
Fun-filled, not a
Yes.
downer.
No.
Right. Well, the spirit and the undertone of this is resilience and perseverance, and 3 things have to happen in my life every single day. I have to have rigorous authenticity, I have to surrender the outcome, and I have to do uncomfortable work. I have to do that every day in my own life for me to stay in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do that, we have to do that as an organization in order for our organization to function, and when we put on events, that's what we have to do. A lot of this is uncomfortable work. We have to surrender the outcome to most of it and just own our side of the street, own what we can control. I don't know if anybody's going to show, but we're putting it on, and we have to have rigorous authenticity. We've got to be authentic in every conversation that we have.
Deb Johnson comes in here once a month, and we talk about it. And one of the things I think it was similar to you is the fact that don't be embarrassed. You've got an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone, and pick up the phone or walk in the door, and you're going to be surprised.
Yeah. Well, you'll be comfortable.
Thank you.
That's what is attractive to BWROC versus most other agencies is the ability to have lived experience. So we're a non-clinical approach. Not that we have any stance on a clinical approach. We'll be a clinical approach's best advocates, in a conduit to them. But our organization serves as non-clinical, so it's the first stop, because when I'm at my worst, who do I go to most?
Right.
I go to the guy who walked through the fire too.
Yeah.
I say, how'd you do it?
Right.
And that's our premise.
Got to be fun working with him.
Oh, I love working with them. But I wanted to say about this too, that we face a lot of stigma that's associated with recovery. And this is a great event to be able to lower those boundaries a little bit, where our recovery community can be interacting with the community at large, and people can get comfortable with each other. And I think just like the person that walks in and they're not sure what to do about their own addiction, people in the community would like to help, but they're not sure how do they approach that. And I think this gives us a very good opportunity to lower those boundaries and possibly get more people involved in recovery.
And you're doing positive things. All right, so if people want more information, they go to bluewaterrock.org, and they'll see when the events are going to be. It's a celebration of resilience and hope. I like that part. September the 14th starts at 1 o'clock, 5K run at 4:30. Softball game, the world famous softball game between police and firemen and you guys.
That's right. We're going to give them all we got. Gloves are off that day. If we could take a minute to say thank you, we just want to thank all of the people behind the scenes that have helped put this on. Angelo Valdivia, Barb Alexander, Elijah Bennett, Nicole Bickle. She's in charge of the 5K. We just have so many people that put their heart and soul into this behind the scenes. And then organizations that have come alongside us. Crossroads Recovery Community, the Dry Dock, Port Huron Odyssey, Lions Recovery, sponsors, CMH, Lawrence Jewelers, Zimmerman's Roofing, St. Clair Packaging, A Beautiful Me. A lot of people have really come behind this. To put this on, I mean, there's 100 individuals, there's 15 organizations, and there you have it. So we can't do it without them.
Nice to meet you. Come back anytime. You can bring him too.
I will bring him.
Patrick, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
All right, that's your invitation. It's going to be on the 14th of September. This is just around the corner, and we'll be back with our next guest in just a second. one of the busy agencies in St. Clair County is the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County. Its head is joining us now by the name of Daniel Casey.
That's
nice
right.
to see you, Mr. Casey.
It's good to be back on.
Yeah, it's been a while, but you're a very busy man. You got a meeting coming up we're going to talk about, a grant application kind of thing, announcement. But bring me up to date on overall thumbnail sketch of EDA in the last year and what's happening in the next. Are you building a building? That kind of good stuff?
We have been very, very busy
Yeah.
for really a long time, going back to COVID. So ever since COVID first started, we've been working just nonstop overtime on various projects, trying to help businesses regain their footing,
Right.
coming out of that. We've managed a number of grant programs for small businesses over the years, so over that time period. And that led us to coming to some realizations that we really needed a business center somewhere in the county that companies could go to, whether there's a person trying to start a business or an existing small business or even a large business that's looking for a place to do strategic planning or something like
Okay.
that. We didn't have anything like that, and so we run 2 small business incubators in the county, and we leverage that to get some grant money from the state and from the Federal Economic Development Administration to build what we're calling the EDA Business Center. And so that's going to be a one-stop shop that businesses can go to. Startup companies can rent office space there. They can access conference rooms and a training room. And our membership and then other organizations in the community can also use those spaces once the building's done. So we're getting ready to put that back out to bid, and with intentions of breaking ground either the end of this year or early next year. It'll take about a year to build the building. Meanwhile, we've been working on entrepreneurial programs, trying to boost that up, and so that's something I was hoping I could talk about more today.
Absolutely, absolutely. EDA stands, as we said, for Economic Development Alliance.
Right.
But who are the members?
So we have about 170 members. It includes 11 municipalities, cities mainly, and the county, and a couple of the townships. And then we also have about 160 private sector members. So these are typically the biggest companies in the county that are members, and they support our mission of trying to grow the economy and helping people, communities, and businesses to prosper.
Okay. And it's been in existence for 15, 20 years?
Oh, no, a lot longer than that.
Longer?
Yeah, we've been around since 1952.
Oh, okay.
And as
God,
far
you
as
look young.
as far as I could tell, we're the oldest economic development agency in Michigan. I haven't found
Wow.
one older yet, and I don't know how that happened because that was way before my time. But yeah, we've been doing this work for a long, long time.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So you got coming up a small business grant announcement. Grants opened just a couple days ago on August 27th. So what's the grant application about?
Okay, so let me back up first if I could.
Okay. You can do whatever you'd like.
Okay, so we've, over the last 7 years, we've developed a lot of programming and a lot of support for small businesses and startups. And an opportunity came our way late last year to apply for a grant called the Small Business Support Hub Grant. It's federal money that's passed through the state of Michigan, and then the state had to determine how they wanted to use that money. They decided that they were going to launch these hubs in the state, and these hubs are like regional areas where these programs originate, and they involve partnerships with other organizations. And so we decided to apply, and we were awarded $2.5 million.
Wow.
Through this program to develop a hub that's going to cover or is covering 6 counties in what we call Region 6. So basically the thumb counties, St. Clair County, Lapeer County to the west, and Shiawassee County.
Wow.
Now Genesee County's in our Region 2, but they applied for their own hub grant, So they asked us not to include them in ours. So we skip over Genesee, but we're covering 6 counties. And basically what the state liked about our proposal is we looked at like what are the weaknesses in the entrepreneurial system within those counties. Like we're in pretty good shape in St. Clair County. We have a small business development center counselor, we have incubators, we have EDA's training programs, and we have a state designated smart zone, which is providing services to tech startups.
Okay.
So we already have a lot of programming in place, and we have a pre-seed fund where every year we give out grant money. In fact, today we had a pitch competition where we awarded $23,000.
Wonderful,
Yep,
wonderful.
to several different companies. So we already had a lot of programs in place, but we recognized that in Huron County, in Sanilac County, Tuscola County, and Lapeer County, they didn't have dedicated counseling coverage. And so we said we can provide funding through this grant to the Small Business Development Center to provide that funding. So SBDC came on board as one of our grant recipients, a sub-recipient, and we're funding 2.5 counseling positions to cover those counties through the grant. We're also working with a couple of foundations that are going to be launching co-working facilities in their counties. One of them is in Bad Axe and the other one's in Capac, which is in St. Clair County, but it's kind of on the western border. So it would support Lapeer County and Sanilac County as well. So there's all these different programs, there's a boot camp, and all these different aspects to it. One of the aspects is a small business grant program, and we were awarded $426,000 through that program to issue out to small businesses. They have to meet federal eligibility requirements, and so there's a whole process that we had to put in place to review these applications when they come in to make sure that the companies are eligible under those criteria. And so we just opened up the application for the first year of the program this year. We just opened it up on Tuesday, a couple days ago. It'll be open through the 24th of September, so companies can access it by going to the following website. It's Eastern Michigan smallbusinessnetwork.com. I know that's a lot of letters.
Yeah.
I know. But anyway, so if people go to Eastern Michigan smallbusinessnetwork.com, they can find the application and the criteria for eligibility, and then they can apply directly there. They can also call the EDA office. So if they're not sure where to go to find the application, they can just call us.
Well, the $400,000 that you're going to award to small businesses, is that only for St. Clair County or for all of them?
So first of all, we're not awarding all $400,000 this year. We're awarding half the money this year. The other half will be next year.
Okay.
Okay. So we're
Well, that's
awarding.
good supporting though, because if the person gets it's going to get some support next year, too.
No, that'll be potentially different companies.
Okay, go ahead.
But the point is we didn't want to give all the money out in 1 year. We wanted to spread it
Yeah.
out over a couple of years.
Right.
For one thing, our network is new. So a lot of small businesses in those other counties, they don't know about it.
Right.
So we knew that over the next year, we're going to be getting more deeply integrated into those communities. And so next year, if we do it again, there'll probably be a lot more awareness.
Okay.
So this year we'll give out half of the money. We're going to be giving out grants up to $20,000 per company. However, we're more likely to give out $5,000 to $7,000 grants.
Okay.
Because that way we can support more businesses.
Yeah, right.
They have to be small businesses. The definition is the federal definition. So basically, less than 500 employees, and they're eligible under that particular criteria. But to me, that's still too big. So our definition is going to be a little tighter than that. We're really looking to support businesses that have like about 30 employees or less.
So,
Except for restaurants. Restaurants can have 100 employees. A lot of them are part-time, but a restaurant would still fit into that.
so it doesn't necessarily have to be a manufacturing facility. It could be cutting grass or a restaurant or
Any kind
barber.
of for-profit business.
Okay.
Nonprofits are not eligible under the federal guidelines, but any for-profit business can apply.
Wow.
As long as they're a small business.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's interesting is the way the money can be spent, because there are some restrictions. The money cannot be spent for construction of any kind.
Okay.
even if you're just replacing a light fixture, the feds would consider that construction. So you have to be very careful about that. We're asking people in the application to tell us how they intend to spend the money. If they want to buy equipment, for example, the equipment, there's a restriction on that. It has to be no more than $4,999 on a unit basis.
Okay.
Okay, and they cannot supplement, if it exceeds that, they cannot supplement with their own money. Literally, they cannot. So that means that they cannot buy anything that costs more than $4,999 with the grant money.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So nonetheless, they can do that. They can buy software or licensed software. They can purchase inventory for, say, a retail business, for example. They're certain they cannot use it for payroll or for their utility bills. They cannot use it for that. They cannot use it for rent. But they can use it for hiring consultants to do specialized work, right, for their business. Like I said, inventory and some other things.
It's exciting in its own little way that this is money that's obviously available, but it's for specific people, specific kinds of uses, and it's helping to grow these 4 counties.
Yeah, so we're lucky that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation agreed to provide us with the funding, first of all, so thank you to them. Also to the Federal Economic Development Administration, which has awarded the money to Michigan. There were only a handful of states that received this kind of funding. So without those 2 things, we wouldn't have access to this money. You asked earlier about, is this just for St. Clair County businesses? And the answer is no. It's for any eligible business within those 6 counties that I mentioned earlier.
Now, did I read somewhere along the line that you're going to have a meeting in Marine City on this?
We're talking about having a meeting, not specifically on this, but we are talking about having a meeting in Marine City. We had one in Algonac with the SBA, Small Business Administration. And so we're talking about doing something similar, bringing some of our partners and resources to Marine City.
Okay, very good. Well, it's certainly something to be looked at and reviewed, and thank everybody that's involved. I mean, it's a great way for young small businesses to maybe get a little boost.
Yeah, I think capital is always the main thing that any business needs to grow. So this is not going to replace bank financing.
Right.
So that's still going to be needed. And there's other grant sources out there and other funding sources for small businesses. And like I always say, money is never free.
Yeah.
So companies are going to have to put some work in to apply, and then they're going to have to provide some paperwork back to us at the end once they've spent the money, because this is a reimbursement.
Yeah.
So they are going to have to do a little bit of work before they're actually going to get the money. But nonetheless, it's a great opportunity for small businesses.
What else is coming up for the fall for EDA of St. Clair County?
So, well, I mentioned our building. We're going to be breaking ground hopefully on that. That's a huge project. Our entrepreneurial network is continuing to grow. So we are going to be launching another application round for 40 cohort companies to be part of a cohort that will go through a more structured, intense program to help startups. So we're going to be putting that application out there in either October or early November. And the cohort will start January 1. One of the reasons I like to promote that is companies go through a boot camp of 8 sessions over a period of months.
New companies.
These new startups.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really intended for startup companies. Nice. They have to be incorporated in Michigan, but otherwise they don't. They don't have to have any revenue. They don't. Any customers. They don't even have to have a business plan yet. But we bring in our partners like the SBDC to help train folks. We offer all these training programs. We've developed a service provider network that has about 30 different companies in it that are in legal, accounting, marketing, and then some more specialized services. And every company that's admitted into the cohort, once they complete a work plan document for us, they become eligible for up to $7,000 of services for free through that network. They don't get the money. What happens is they or they can contact any of those service providers one-on-one, or multiple of them, whatever. And eventually, they will say to the company, like, I need a website created, for example.
Right.
The company will give them a price to create the website. If they agree to terms, the marketing company would send a work order to the EDA that we would approve. They go through, develop the website. At the end of it, the small business signs off as accepting it, and then we get invoiced by the marketing company, and the EDA pays the invoice. So the money doesn't go directly to the company, but they get the benefit of the work.
Right.
So you think about it, what our goal was is we want these startup companies to become incorporated. We want them to get an accounting system set up with accounting software, trained on how to use the software, and trained on how to create financial statements. And we want them to have basic marketing materials, which can include things like a business card and a brochure. So for about $7,000, you can do all of those things. So that was our initial effort, was to create that network. But then we ran across some companies that offer more specialized services. So for companies that are a little bit farther along, there's another partner that we signed up, a company called Regroup, that works on companies at more of an advanced level. And in particular, what they do is they work with companies on what is their exit strategy at the end of their period, whatever it is. So if a company forms and says, I want to run my business for 10 years and then I want to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens to your company at the end of the 10th year? Do you want to sell the business? Do you want to license, if it's a technology, do you want to license that to somebody else? What do you want to do? So Regroup is one of those companies in our network that will help companies strategize and put together their plans for how they want to exit in the future. So we've just got a lot of great resources in that network.
Yeah.
So that's, again, that cohort application will be coming out in the fall, so I'd ask people to look for that. So we got that. And then in terms of just general economic development, we're working on some of the biggest projects in the history of the county right now. That doesn't mean they're going to land in St. Clair County, but it means that we're really busy.
Good.
Right.
Well, so if anybody's thinking along the lines of starting their own business or in expanding their business, they should really give you guys a call.
Absolutely, that's the best way to start.
Okay.
That, and go to that website.
Right.
Because we have our training schedule on there. We have all of our partners listed on there, all the programming that's part
And
of
that website again is?
Eastern Michigan smallbusinessnetwork.com.
They needed somebody to advise them on having a smaller name.
Well, yeah, but the
Eastern-
problem is we didn't want to call it Thumb Coast
No.
because we have two counties that are inland that aren't
Right,
on the
right.
coast, so we couldn't
So,
call it that.
One final time, Eastern Michigan.
Smallbusinessnetwork.com.
All right. Mr. Casey, it's always a pleasure.
Good seeing you again,
Good
Paul.
seeing you, right? That's about it for this edition of the Focus program. Thanks very much for tuning in. Till next time, I am Paul Dingeman. See you soon.
Cool.
Yeah, what a terrible.
Thanks for watching Focus with Paul Dingeman. Focus is produced at the CTV Community Television Studios in St. Clair. For over 20 years, CTV has captured the moments that matter to our community.